Okay. Do we have any comments from the public, Margaret, on this?
Yes, we do have one, and Mr. Wickham will read that.
Okay, Larry.
Give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Okay, the comment was submitted by LJ Greenwood Lynch. The subject of the comment was "Shame on you all." And the comment was, "Your names and faces have been recorded. You are treasoners, traitors, and all noted. Thank you for that. All noted, all recorded. Absolute hall of shame."
Okay.
What was that? What was that all about?
I guess that's it. We'll truck right on with our business then, folks. We have a consent agenda. It's the minutes from the last meeting on October the 19th. Are there any additions and corrections that need to be made? Okay, if there aren't any, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Teresa Stevenson.
Okay. Motion made by Tom and seconded by Teresa. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay. I have nothing to report at this particular point in the agenda, or actually for tonight, so we'll move on to the president's report. Dr. Bush.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm going to keep it short and sweet this evening. I've had most of the things I really wanted to convey to you. I've got out into you in writing, so you've had an opportunity to look at those, I'm sure. Just a couple of highlights, I guess. I really want to praise Andy Swap and Jim and those who work over in the wind energy building. They held a very successful event on October 27th, the American Clean Power Energy event. I can't really express how successful it was. It was an opportunity for our students to meet our wind partners face to face, discuss opportunities in their chosen career. It also drew the attraction of a number of our governmental representatives. So we had a representation from a member of Congress there. We had former state senators. We had a very nice crowd. But probably the best part of the whole day was at the end when our wind partners sat down at their tables and our students got in line with their resumes and were being hired on the spot. It was just an incredible day. If you want to feel good about something, stand and watch people get hired. And get hired into a evolving profession that none of us is going to be able to understand what the future is going to look like down the road. But the fact is, we're preparing some really great students, and they're getting jobs, and that is just plain terrific. So I just wanted to highlight that event. It was excellent. The month of September, you're well aware, was Hispanic Heritage Month. The college was very involved in a lot of activities during that time, and very proud of what we did and the celebrations that we took advantage of. Everything from the ofrenda for Dia de las Muertes for the community who brought in photos of their loved ones, to the fact that we had a great celebration with a live mariachi band here. It was just an incredible time to celebrate the heritage of many of our students and faculty and staff. And I think there's a lot of positive to be said about that. Dr. Roundtree did an incredible job working with her team And I believe if she wanted to speak up, she would be the first to tell you that she has an incredible team of students who are leading a lot of these initiatives, which just, again, makes you very proud that you have a student population who is excited about going to school and excited about making Mesa Lands the best it can be. So, again, just great things there. We're making some really great progress in expanding our sports and athletic programs, in entering into the NJCAA conference. This is going to really help us with not only our enrollment, but certainly our position within the state and the nation as a leader to build upon the successes we already have in rodeo and golf. So by next fall, we should have men's and women's golf and men's and women's cross country. This will give us a lot more opportunities to, again, attract more students and be able to give them even a better college experience in college life. And they will be competing in the national conference in Division I and Division II. And just a couple of other little things we continue to go through with our audit of our IT and business sources and business services, and that I get weekly updates on that. And ECMC is doing a very good job at looking at our campus and our resources. And they are on schedule to get me a report by the middle of December or so as to where we stand. That will prepare us then for full implementation or beginning to fully implement by next fall with the shared services agreement. We have had a couple of incidents on campus related to arson. This is something I'm sure you're already aware of, but at least we had 2 cars that were destroyed by somebody, we don't know who, of course, but this has been reported to the police. The fire marshal's been involved. This is something that we're very concerned about. We are very lucky, I will say that we have Chester Bobbitt, who is our coordinator for campus safety and security. So he's been working and remember, he's a former highway patrolman. So his ability to work with the local police is extraordinary and been able to help us a lot in that regard. It's a concern of ours, will continue to be a concern of ours. He's continuing to look at what we need to do to improve the safety and security at the campus. This continues to be a concern for all of us. October was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We had a number of events take place around that time. And in November, we are currently celebrating Native American Month. And I have to tell you, it was one of the most beautiful experiences. I know Ms. Stevenson was there, but it was one of the most beautiful experiences to have our guests visit the campus and from the Navajo and the Apache nations to discuss and entertain and share their culture and heritage with us. So it was something very positive as well. On Veterans Day, we had the opportunity to work with the local VFW, and I participated along with some others from Mesa Lands at the town's Veterans Day ceremony. On that day, I did announce plans for us to dedicate a space on the campus for veterans, dedicated so that we could be able to help meet their needs and provide additional services that will be focused on making our veteran students successful. Our veterans and also our active duty military as well. So we take their service very seriously, and we will be taking some steps to create a permanent location that honors them for their service, but gives them the additional resources that they often need in order to be successful. Last weekend, well, let me back up a second. Before last weekend, it was the weekend of the 6th, we held a charity golf tournament here in Tucumcari. The event was a huge success. There were, I believe, over 100 golfers there. Did a wonderful job, and people coming from all over, really, New Mexico to participate in this. In fact, so much so that we ran out of golf carts, and they had to go and rent more golf carts. So it was a great event and very supportive to our golf team. The proceeds of that they intend to use to get equipment for the golf team, and especially equipment. They're looking at a swing machine that actually measures and is able to computerize the swing so that they're able to improve their game. With that said, our golf team just spent the last week, got back today, after 2 of them had been invited to the national championships in Hilton Head, South Carolina. And it is my pleasure to report to you that we're moving into the big time, folks. Tanner Cromes, one of our golfers, it came in 18th. Now, that may sound like, oh my gosh. No. There were hundreds of players, and this kid came in 18th. What a proud thing we have here at Mesa Lands to have such quality. Mario came in a bit lower than he did, but both of them had a terrific time and a great experience in being able to play on a world-class course as they did in Hilton Head. I'm sure something they're never going to forget. So very, very happy about that. Just a couple of other things. Next Tuesday at noon, there will be a legislative lunch being hosted by Mesa Lands in the Wind Building. And that is from probably about noon to 2 would be my guess. There'll be lunch served, but the members of the New Mexico legislature will be here. It'll function much like a town hall, and I encourage anybody who's able, and if any of you are able to attend, I'd encourage you to do so. Certainly give you a chance to voice your opinions to the legislature, but most importantly, what I'd like to see you do is voice your opinions about what the legislature can do to help Mesa Lands. So anyway, I want to, I'll be there. I've got my list made of my Christmas list for the legislators and what I want from them. And we're looking forward to that opportunity. So that's next Tuesday. The day be Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, and at noon. Also want to tell you that we will be hosting at Mesa Lands in the Great Room on December the 1st a COVID booster clinic. Okay, so for those who have had your 2 shots and you want to get your 3rd, if you have been 6 months since your 2nd, you're eligible to get your 3rd. Okay. And we'll be hosting that from 8 to 4. So we know that a significant population of our employees are vaccinated with 2 doses. And so those who want to get their 3rd will be able to get their booster at that time. We will hold another booster clinic sometime in the spring because some of our faculty and staff chose to not get vaccinated until later in the fall. They need that 6-month period before they can get their boosters. And the last thing I just simply want to bring up to you is I mentioned a moment ago about the NJCAA. If you're actually not familiar with the NJCAA, that stands for the National Junior College Athletic Association. You'll sometimes hear the NCAA. That is for the four-year institutions. But the NJCAA is all of the two-year colleges. We will be prepared in the fall for the sports I mentioned to you, but I have very exciting news to share with you that we have been approved by the NJCAA which is simply their E side of it, for esports. Esports is the fastest growing athletic event for student athletes in the nation. While sports like baseball and football are increasing at single or low double digits, esports, which is competitions where students compete with other students in gaming, is about 80%. There are now over 200 schools in the e-competitions, and we will be one of those schools that is competing nationally in the conference for esports. One of the really cool things about this too is that the students don't have to be here to play for us. They could actually be distance students in our distance education programs and be able to participate on our team. So this is by far the biggest thing in sports. Colleges and universities are building large buildings and arenas to host esports. I have to admit to you that I didn't know a lot about esports when I got into this. I'm not a gamer, so I wasn't one who knew a lot, but I've learned a huge amount about it, and it's very, very exciting, because now what we are able to do is we're going to be able to go out and market our esports athletics teams and tie them directly to several of our degree programs that we already have. So that means students will come here, play esports, leave with a degree in digital graphics, digital design. There's just a whole bunch of them. The one in the area of arts has 3 different tracks on it. So these are the kinds of majors that those students get when they finish their academic experience, in addition to being student athletes. So this is a big deal. Macelands is well prepared for it. I'm going to put Larry on the spot for just a second. Larry is one of the leaders on the campus, along with, he could tell you who else involved. But Larry, what would you like to add to the description of esports for these folks to sort of bring them up to speed as to what that is?
So esports kind of breaks the mold. A lot of people think of gamers as this reclusive person who just sits in his room and eats pizza and plays video games. But that whole stigma has now changed, and it is one of the, as Dr. Bush mentioned, one of the fastest growing athletic sports in the world, really. Looking at the numbers, there are over 8,000 high school teams out there, and numerous more clubs. So as we look at our incoming population, they're coming from high schools, so we need to be ready to receive them with this program as well.
Right. Very good. Yes. And so it's actually going to make us another great segue from dual enrollment into the college for us, as well as being able to, reach down and dual enrollment students participating in esports on our team. So it's a very, very good news thing. And the good news was that while the other sports take longer to get approval because they do inspections and this and that, with esports, the review of the school and the approval of the school is not quite as comprehensive. And we've gone through that, and everything is great on our end. So we have everything we need to be very active. This is going to be a big deal.
Question for somebody, for either you or Larry. Does DRL fall into this category, which is your drone racing league?
Larry?
Not typically. But we could work it in.
Now, the reason I was bringing that up because that was one of the programs that Andy was wanting to move into as far as the wind turbines, utilizing the drones to check those out. And of course, they're utilizing them for everything from land survey to you name it. So that's something we probably ought to be looking at too. But they do have a drone racing league. You can have 4 or 5, and you be distance. You don't have to be right there, and actually race those things.
Mm-hmm.
One of the programs that Andy is working on. I'm sorry, Dr. Bush. He is putting together a high school course to go along with the online instruction courses we have, which will employ not only things like how do you find out the Latin long from a cell phone, all that sort of stuff, but he's also going to have a drone component to that certificate course, which complements the online courses that the RECs are asking us to put together for the WIN program so that they can do offline, online, and then their home in the high school courses.
Okay.
And I'll just simply add to that. And Jim, actually, I hadn't had a chance to tell you this today. I talked to a university president today who has a baccalaureate and master's completion for people who want to take the drones to the next level. So if we develop, no kidding, and if we can deliver these programs and these students complete their associate's degrees and so forth in these drone programs, they'll be able to complete those bachelor's degrees and or masters because drones are being used in so many means of production, whether it's agriculture, whether it's wind. I mean, they're just being used everywhere. And they will actually be able to complete those degrees right here in our university center in Tucumcari and get their bachelor's degrees right here. So this is one we're hammering out, and it's again, this is another one of those areas that's so high demand that when we get the programs in place and being able to show how students can articulate and transfer and move through, if this is their desire, then we've got the place for them, and there's not going to be any place like it. So,
Oh, that's great.
So, Mr. Chairman, I believe that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, I believe you've got something in a request for a letter from the board.
I do, sir. I need actually 2 letters from the board. The first letter is in respect to I need approval from the board to send to the Higher Learning Commission with our application you're familiar with as we are submitting all of our programs to be approved for online learning. So basically what I need from the board is a letter simply stating that you have voted on this, that you agree that that it's fine for us to move forward as an institution that includes online learning for all of our programs.
Okay.
This is a requirement from HLC.
Okay. Folks, do we have a motion?
Teresa Stevenson, so moved.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second. Judy.
Okay. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The second point that I need to bring forward is, again, simply an issue for HLC that goes with the application. Mr. Morgan and Mary Beth have been working in the workforce division side developing micro-credentials. One of the aspects of micro-credentials is using competency-based learning. Traditional school was you went to school 16 weeks, that was a semester. If you learned it in 3 weeks, you still had to sit there for 13 more weeks. And with competency-based learning, it's the shift in the way that education is being delivered. And with that, I just want to pause a minute and let you get a better understanding on competency-based learning from Mary Beth. She spent last week at a conference on competency-based learning. And we now have certified people on campus to do that, but the process ultimately needs a letter of approval for competency-based from this board. And Jim, if you'd like to jump in at some point and explain the necessity of these, you're welcome to do so. Mary Beth, you want to explain competency-based a little bit more?
Sure, I'll be happy to. One of the things they said at this conference that stuck with me when explaining competency-based learning is that learning is constant and time is flexible. So the basic idea with competency-based learning is, first of all, to recognize the skills and knowledge that a student already comes in with through assessment of those skills and knowledge, through prior learning assessment. And the key is having reliable assessment instruments in place to be able to do that. And it really comes down to an issue of access and success through an alternate pathway. It allows students to move, instead of at this basic 16-week schedule, if they're able to get through the content in a more accelerated way, they can move forward more quickly. It allows them a lot more flexibility, which we've seen is more and more important because our students are working, our students have families, and they need some alternate ways to be able to meet their goals. So competency-based learning permits that to happen by setting those course goals and objectives and making sure that they're clearly assessed, but making sure that the path to reach them isn't rigid from a time perspective. Is that good enough?
Yeah, if you want to elaborate just briefly on how that would impact a dual enrollment student.
Sure. A dual enrollment student, you could, they could move at an accelerated pace through any program. They could also, I mean, obviously we already recognize their credentials if they're a dual enrollment student, so it doesn't really impact it from that regard.
Right. But what it does do is, rather than limiting a dual enrollment student to 16 weeks, which means they're limited on the number of classes they can take, they can actually speed that up if they are an accelerated student, and they could actually complete their entire degree before they graduate high school. So that's one of the benefits of that. Mr. Morgan, do you have anything to add as it relates to your micro-credentials and being able to distribute those out?
You're muted, Jim.
Sorry about that. The fact is that a lot of credentials are based upon actual hands-on active learning in a lab somewhere, and there's no substitute for that. So you could do a micro-credential online, for example, and you could stack them up for part of the program, but for the rest of the program, you would need to come to the campus to get your degree.
That's right. So what I'm asking from the board is approval for us to have not a replacement. Don't get me wrong on that. We're not replacing the traditional system of education. We're simply adding one more way in which students can be more successful and be more successful at an accelerated pace if necessary, or at a slower pace in order for them to completely master the skill that they need. So I just simply need approval from the board for that, please.
I have to ask the question, is that not an administrative decision?
No, it's not, sir. It's required by the HLC that I have to have a letter from the board.
Okay, well, then we've got another problem because it's not on this agenda.
Yeah,
So
it is.
how quick? No, it's not. You've only got one letter on there. You don't have this one.
It was combined with that same letter.
Okay.
It's one letter with.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, competency-based learning. Yes, sir. Okay. Then, do we have a motion to approve both letters? Let me rephrase the first one.
I can change it to approve both letters. The
Okay, Teresa, if you would, please.
previous,
Okay.
that,
And second, please.
Seconded.
Okay. Can we do a roll call in?
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay.
Thank you,
I
ladies
guess
and gentlemen. I will draft those letters for you, Mr. Chair, if you would like, and make that easier for you.
Do you're going to need all of our signatures on those, aren't you?
No, I think all it needs to be is documented in the minutes, which Ms. Ragland will get for us, and I can attach a letter that simply states that the board voted on this date to approve the college to pursue these two areas. They're two different letters, but they're
Okay.
just swap out the words on both of them,
That should work.
and
Okay.
and then attach your minutes to it that shows that you did it, and we're in good shape.
Good.
Thank you very much, folks.
Okie dokie. On to Ms. Gillard, please.
Good evening. Tonight, I would like to present for approval by the board the New Mexico Higher Education Quarterly Financial Statements. And those are found in, may be found in Exhibit 4. And I did note that I had the fiscal year wrong, so I have already sent Margaret the corrected copy. So that fiscal year in the heading should read 2021. And as I said, this is for the third quarter of this year. And note that there are a series of questions that we have to, and we have responded no to all of those questions, which is actually good. And then on page 2, you'll note that both the Mr. Streetman as the board chairman and Dr. Bush as the president will need to assign those if approved by the board. So if there are any questions, I will be happy to answer your questions.
Questions, anyone?
And if not, I would ask the board to approve the third quarter financial statements.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the third quarter financial statements?
I'll make a motion that we approve the third quarter financial statement.
Okay.
Second.
Please. Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go on to student affairs. Dr. Roundtree.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to make this report on behalf of Student Affairs and Student Activities. I'm going to turn my, there it's on. One of the major events that Dr. Bush mentioned was the Native American Heritage Month. I just want to underscore why that event is very significant in student affairs, and it's because it's helping us to benchmark our efforts to do programming in collaboration with both our campus students as well as our community. And this was one event that was chaired significantly by the members of the Tucumcari Native American community, so that they were so intimately involved that it increased the participation of that particular community, many of whom were on our campus for the very first time. In addition to community members participating, as well as one of our board members, Teresa Stevens, we had 130 students from Tucumcari Middle School and Elementary School attend this event. The teachers stopped us after the event and expressed how much they appreciated it. And we've had 3 phone calls from teachers who were not in attendance to ask how could they collaborate with us on future programs. So I think that's really very significant. The next item I'd like to mention is our Veterans Day program. We began reaching out to veterans back in August of this year, and that resulted in a collaboration for the ceremony to honor veterans on Veterans Day. And we were the only organization in the community that collaborated with the Veterans of Foreign War organization to honor our fallen veterans. So this was an opportunity for us to assist a Mesa Land alum. The commander of the VFW is a Mesa Land's alum, and he was extremely pleased and expressed it both publicly and privately how he loved working with Mesa Land and receiving the support from us to help him with this event. Student Affairs hosted the luncheon, and about 30 community members attended. So this was our first collaboration, but we anticipate doing this twice a year, maybe once at Veterans Day, and we were thinking about doing it once at Valentine's Day to show them how much we love them. This event was done in collaboration with an outreach program we had on campus called Thank You for Serving. And we did a display of all of the veterans, either students or faculty and staff on our campus. So our very own Jim Morgan was in the display, as well as other individuals on campus. So we got pictures of all the veterans and made a very nice display in Building A in the Commons area. And the final thing I want to report on is our annual programming experience. What we did today was initiate the beginning of annual programming. We will have a calendar next month. We have the tentative draft done today, and we will have next month a permanent calendar to issue to board members as well as faculty and staff for the upcoming year. What I mean by that is all of spring semester has been programmed and all of fall semester for next year has been programmed. Now, the purpose of this type of extensive long-term programming is to encourage alignment with the academic affairs. What we want to do is augment what is taking place in the classroom. So when the faculty see programs that address particular issues like women's studies, African American history, Native American history, breast cancer awareness, any type of event, they can align that with some subject that they're studying in the classroom. And then this makes it for a more meaningful experience for our students. One of the best examples of that has already taken place, and that was Joe Kaiser and the art students. Every month, they do an art project that centers around one of our events. So that is what is called alignment. I don't know if this went out. Okay, so that is what is considered the best practice in student affairs, when you align your programs to augment, support, and enhance the academic experience of the students. You can bring those two concepts together, what's going on inside the classroom and what's going on outside the classroom. And we become partners with the academic world. So that is our objective. It was a major undertaking, and we're extremely proud of the outcome. So we've worked with faculty, staff, and students in planning this year-long activity event. That is my report, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Josh, you're up next.
Yes, thank you very much. So we've been doing some fantastic events and public relations and doing marketing. We've had a great opportunity to work with student activities to provide information to the community as well as publications about the events that we have been participating in. We've also been able to do some publications in Rodeo News magazine, as well as the World Ranch Rodeo Championships that were over in Amarillo. We had faculty that actually participated over there. We were able to get booth space for Eddie as he went over there and was able to present and demonstrate the different programs that he works with, and of course, able to meet students that way. So we've had a lot of different opportunities that have come about. I've also been participating in strategic enrollment planning, working with colleagues from other institutions so that we can collaborate together to find better ways to more effectively reach students in our community and abroad. This is strategic enrollment planning and strategic enrollment management. In this, we're able to continue to dig into our data. It's very important that we develop a culture of data. We need to cultivate a data-driven culture that enables us to strategically focus in on the programs that are most beneficial to the students in our area, but also that produce more opportunities for careers for our students, but also is able to use our investment as efficiently as possible. What I mean by that is that we are able to look at our data and see what works best, what programs are working best, how to compensate those financially. But also we can drill down in understanding how each of those students are affected by each program. So whether it's athletics or whether it's the programs, the academic programs that we have, we're able to see how that affects each student, what is the most effective, but also the best way to provide success and access to our students through strategic planning as well as strategic management in the future. And so we're able to look at our data on a micro level to uncover those investments that we can invest into to help the student graduate and be successful. But then we also establish indicators and future indicators that will also let us know what is financially viable and where we should be investing our finances to be as effective as possible for each student that we have. So there's a lot of really fantastic opportunities that are out there, but this also has required us to dig deeper into our data over the several past years. And as we look forward into future indicators, and ultimately we're forming committees that will be coming together to help us guide through this strategic enrollment into the future and making these plans not just in enrollment, but also with our programs, with athletics, with marketing, and with public relations. So the whole college becomes guided with the mission of student success and access, but we are also making strategic decisions that makes this as efficient as possible to ultimately increase our enrollment. But of course, we want to ultimately give our students the best opportunity for success in a career and lead the way in their career field. So those are some things that we've been working on, or I've been working on through there and through that, and continue to work on.
Josh, do you want to explain how you got a lot of that new information?
With the, are you talking with the
about the conference you attended?
Yeah, there was a strategic enrollment planning conference that I attended where we were actually able to, we worked together. They instruct you on how to drill down to the dollar amount that each student represents, and then essentially how to use that dollar amount from the micro level to the macro level in engaging in strategic planning and management so that it makes it financially viable. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going long on this, but basically it was through the conference that Dr. Bush, helped me to find and sign me up for, and it was very beneficial. And so I look forward to enacting all of these wonderful things that I learned at that conference.
Thank you, Josh. I just think it's important to point that out because we talk about a lot of these things, and I think it's important for the board to understand that it's more than just talk. We take it seriously in the areas that we know that we need to develop. I'm encouraging these individuals on this call to participate in that and learn as much as they can to bring back to Mesa Lands. It's more than just us spinning in circles, Chair. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Mr. Morgan.
It turns out that in the last 2 years, since we have not applied for capital projects nor gone to the meetings to prove that we know what we're talking about so we can get the money, they have changed the process a little bit, and now they want you to have a full. So I've been scrambling to try to catch up and get our permission for a December meeting in order to make that presentation. I'm just about 100%. I don't know if our contact at HED, Gerald Honey, will allow us to get away with that. He's very cooperative sometimes. We'll be a fall over to January, so we'll be able to get a meeting in January. The meeting back, yes, okay, you can go ahead and start spending the money that is already previously allocated to you. I don't, because nothing will happen in December anyway. We'll have to get a CES contractor, probably WWRC, to give us a contract so we can get started early next year as opposed to late. We'd like to get it turned over as quickly as possible because of the new I have in Building A and the whole new look to campus and the entry to the campus and the improvement in the student experience in Building A. It'll be a great increase. I attended the American Clean Power Energy Conference we had here. Very great conference. In the midst of that, there was a gentleman with the name of Benjamin Mondaka, and he had two ladies here who were recruiters. NextEra was helping me with my solar, but I'd had some problems with solar and all of that. Turns out he's a solar guy also. He said, well, I know the guy you're talking about at the home office. He said, I'll talk to him and see what I can do. They've now assigned a NextEra contact point for my solar program to help me get it off the ground and to help Mr. Auld figure out how to get my solar panels of a better quality and get here sooner. So, conversation with Mr. Mondaka, I guess. That's about the only thing I have as far as a write-up goes. If you turn over to Exhibit 5, monthly financial report. Typical budget summary report for this year and the previous year that shows the different categories that we have. Are there any questions on that report?
Anybody have any questions?
Our CDs and our profit or income from our CDs. Any questions on that?
Jim, I have a question here, and maybe just
Yes, sir.
maybe just a typo, but on the first line, let's see, it's a 6-month CD, but the maturity date here says 11/14/22. Is that a typo?
Oh, 22.
Because if you look down,
It is a 6-month yield.
Well, if it's 6 months, it wouldn't be 11/14/22 then.
No, it'd be 3/14/22.
Yes, sir.
okay,
Yes, sir. Thank you for catching that.
okay.
Next report is our check. A printout of all the checks cashed since the last report. I still have not been able to get out of there. That's why we have some individuals' names on the printout. As I mentioned last month, I think I'm going to have to start manually editing those lines out, but then the sequential numbers are lost, so I'm not sure which one is the better way.
Are you back with us, Jim?
Yes.
You cut out. Okay, you cut out, and I didn't hear the last of it. But,
Okay.
yeah, there's 165 checks totaling $168,664.89.
Yes, sir.
So, do we have a motion to approve the financial report that Jim has given us?
Teresa Stevenson, so moved.
I so move.
Okay, Teresa made the motion. Jimmy, you're going to make the second. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay.
Okay, if you please go over to Exhibit 6. This is the annual financial aid award report. I'm prepared to make this if Jessica's not handy. Jessica, you want to make this report?
Yes, I'd like to present, please.
Okay, Jim, you're skipping over the action on the building at the museum.
I'm sorry. Where's that at?
It's item 2, decision regarding the future of the damaged storage
Got it.
building at the museum.
Sorry.
I don't see anything in our packet about it other than that line. So you've got the information on it, evidently.
Jim, I can help you with that.
Okay, I don't have anything on that.
Yeah, this is the decision that the board, we need a board decision on what to do with this building because it's a governance issue, not an administrative decision. This is a piece of property that you have down at the museum that was destroyed in that storm. And we are entitled to an insurance check, or we may rebuild the building. And so the discussion is a board discussion, actually. What does the board prefer to do? Do you prefer to have that building rebuilt, or do you prefer to just abandon that building and clean up the mess and use the insurance money for other expenses the college may have?
Okay, the question that I would have back to you, Dr. Bush, is do we need that building there near the museum?
Okay, Jim, this is where Jim's been working on that piece with Axel and the others. So maybe Jim can chime in a little bit on that piece of it.
What's the question, Jim? I'm sorry.
The question, Jim, was he wants to know if the building is necessary to be had down at the museum or not.
In other words, the close proximity to the museum it's got to be an advantage. But what's the disadvantages, and do we need the space there? Can we have the space someplace else? There's a whole gambit of questions there, really.
Sure. And
Sure.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well,
Jim's been talking to Axel and the ones down there who are directly affected.
I think the cost is a little exorbitant for a cinder block building, basically. I think we could probably get a Morgan metal building, which is very attractive looking with 2 high bay doors and a side door. Will look a little bit like what was there. And if we can probably put it in the same lot, if we can get it to pass the Planning and Zoning Commission. And if we can't, we can probably go to the Armory building and the lot off the side of that and put it out there. That's not close and it's not convenient, but we would have a place to locate a building. The museum people feel like they have to have a building. They've got too much storage now stored in the museum and it's cramping them. They need to have a building. The numbers are $124,000 recovery after depreciation, $119,000 in after our discount.
Jim, you're cutting out so bad. I'm not quite sure where we're at.
Let me try it.
Okay.
The payout from the insurance is about $119,000 after we pay the deductible. And the cost of the building, if you were to get this building that Jim's describing, is about $24,000. Is that right, Jim? You can shake your head. Or
Yeah,
okay. So the question to the board is, do you, would you prefer that they use that insurance money and replace it with this building that Jim's describing? I think he refers to it as a Morgan building. Or would you prefer we have, right now, all of their stuff that was in that building is being stored at the armory and in other areas that we have storage space, in which case the money could be used for our fire alarms and some of the other big expense items that have since come up.
In the future, after remodeling or everything, will there still be room in the armory for everything?
I believe we can make room in the armory permanently for it. Is my opinion.
And so, what is all of this that's being stored? What is it? It's all the.
It's old artifacts, Mr. Sidwell. Primarily, it's castings and just old artifacts.
Fossils.
Fossils. Mm-hmm. They're not of high necessary. There's also some rocks that were part of the collection given to us. And
there are tons of rocks at the armory, so much so that it's blocking where we want to put the nurses program later.
Right.
And they need to have some place to put the rocks, as well as what they've taken up there that came out of the old building, the one which got flooded.
Right.
Okay, so that's kind of my question. What I'm wanting to know is, the things that are stored down there, is that going to impede a future program? Right now, I suppose Dr. Axel and everybody down there wants to have the building right there where everything is accessible.
Yes, they would like that.
And so that's, I guess that kind
if we can get a metal building in there that will satisfy everybody and meet with the aesthetics of the area, then I think it ought to be there because again, it's the close proximity to them. They'll be working right there. They'll be across the street. That building, if I remember right, the only thing it had in it was electricity. Is that not right?
You're correct. That's correct. It didn't have anything.
So all we need to do is just have a nice insulated building with some electricity in it, and we don't have to get real crazy. And if we can get something like that on a Butler or Mueller building in there, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I think so too. And so do you anticipate a problem with P&Z on getting a metal building in there?
The only question about the metal building, sir, would be whether or not it would be satisfactory with the code requirements of the city. That would be the only issue of getting it in there. So I think that would be it.
Yeah.
One advantage of going with the code or with this building is the building is going to be about $24,000 and we're going to get about $119,000 back out of it. And we have about correct me, Jim, I think it's 40 some odd $1,000 that we're going to have to spend on the fire alarm system here. That we have no choice. I mean, we've got to have to spend that.
That's the current bid. We're still trying to get a better bid.
Right. But the point being that we would have out of that insurance money, we could potentially have enough to cover our fire alarm system if we went with this $24,000 building versus rebuilding a block building.
Yes, sir.
Well, that sounds reasonable to me.
Yep. Teresa?
I think it sounds reasonable.
Okay.
The metal building.
Guys, let's see if we can move forward with do we have a motion then to try to move forward with a possible replacement of that building with a metal building if possible?
Yes.
Okay, a second.
Yeah, I second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr.
Margaret, roll call.
Sidwell. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Mr. Sidwell. Mr.
You're
Sidwell.
muted.
Tom, you
Okay,
muted.
yes.
Oh, okay. Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Mr. Streetman.
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, can we go
Now-
to exhibit
now.
6?
Yes, sir. Please move forward.
Okay, this is the annual, I think what I asked Jessica if she wanted to give it, she said, no, I can go ahead and give it. Is that right, Jessica?
I said I would like to present it, please.
Steve?
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I present to you our 2020-2021 annual financial aid report. And this is a breakdown of all the aid that we receive, federal, state, institutional, third party, and the number of students that we accommodate each year. We usually hold about a 5-year pattern so that you can see what the aid has been in the past and then what we are currently. I went ahead and added what we are in currently because we don't ever want to predict what we normally are based upon a COVID year, because COVID year during the pandemic was not a true reflection of what we typically do. So I wanted to include what we're currently doing, fall only aid, so that way you guys can see that we're on the uptick, that we're making progress, students are coming back, and we have more students enrolled. So that way it's a good comparison where we are. So in 2020-2021, federal aid was awarded in $508,614. That did include Pell Grant, direct loans, federal work study, federal VA benefit, education benefits, SEOG, which is Student Equal Opportunity Grant. The first round of HERF funds were actually included in 2019-2020, and we're working on getting those awarded and hopefully to the business office by next week for round 2. And then I'll be working with Dr. Bush and everyone else on round 3. And then of course, AmeriCorps. AmeriCorps is a new one for us to be awarding to students. And we had, I believe, 3 students that used AmeriCorps monies that they have earned this past year. State monies were awarded in the amount of $167,456. You'll notice that's a big increase from what we've had in the past. And that is due primarily to the introduction of the New Mexico Opportunity Scholarship by the state of New Mexico. The New Mexico Opportunity Scholarship pays 100% tuition and fees for eligible New Mexico residents. And so this is a huge benefit for our New Mexico students. And it is awarded after all other state aid is awarded, but prior to Pell Grant monies and other federal monies. So this is a huge asset for our New Mexico students because essentially all of their federal aid is, for lack of a better term, cash in their pocket to help them pay for their living expenses and other non-academic expenses. So included in the state aid is the Student Incentive Grant, the College Affordability Grant, the New Mexico Lottery, the State Work Study, DVR, which is the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, the New Mexico Opportunity Scholarship, and the New Mexico Legislative Endowment Scholarship. Moving on to institutional aid, we awarded $58,259. That included scholarships for rodeo, stampede, and golf, and then work study. Third-party financial aid was in the amount of $19,550. Third-party aid includes private scholarships, tribal monies, and private loans. I will note So we helped about 135 students, which was a big decrease from previous years. But comparing it to our numbers that we are at now, we're going to finish out this year ahead of the game. So we'll get those students back. Because again, what I'm showing in 21-22 is just all aid. And so you can see that we're going to be okay. The students are going to be okay. And the students are coming back. So I will entertain any questions that you might have regarding my report. And hopefully I didn't cut in and out too bad.
You did fine. Thank you. Okay, folks, I guess at this point in time in the meeting, we're going to executive session. The items listed here. We have a motion to go in executive session? Do we have a motion to go in executive
So
session?
moved. Yes,
Yeah, I'll
so,
make a motion to go
so
in
moved.
executive session.
Okay, Tom made the motion. Teresa, you're going to second then?
Yes.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Sandoval? Mr. Sandoval?
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Streetman?
Yes.
And Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
And the motion carried.
Okay, Dr. Bush, who do you want to keep in here with us?
We don't need anybody, sir.
Who all are we missing? We got everybody here? Is Dr. Roundtree coming back in?
Don't know. I can check her.
I think who else we were missing? There's Jim, there's Larry, there's Josh and Natalie and Margaret. And
Jessica.
Jessica may not come back in. She may not really need to. You know
Thank
if
you.
Jessica's coming back in, Jim? Okay.
No, I don't know, Jim.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Went to Hazel's voicemail, so there she is.
Okay. Okay, I think we've got everybody in here. Do we have a motion to reconvene this meeting from executive session?
Yes.
No, second.
Jimmy made the motion. Tom made the second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Streetman?
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval?
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Dr. Bush, would you lay out this third-party payroll firm motion you'd like to have on this agenda? This will be based on our executive session, part of it.
Yes, sir. I would like to ask the board for permission to work with Natalie and our consultants to explore the option of using a third-party payroll system.
Okay. We have a motion
So move.
and a second.
Nice second.
And roll call, please.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. New business. I don't see anything back there. Correspondence, that was in the back of the book. And of course, our next board meeting will be on December the 14th of 2021 at 5:30 through Google Meet.
Are we still doing swearing in on the 17th?
Margaret's been working on that.
I haven't got an answer back yet on that, but it will have to be a virtual. So I haven't gotten back an answer.
So
That could be right after the first of the year too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll just be a regular meeting on the 14th, and when we know when the swearing in, that'll be a different meeting.
Probably have a special meeting for the swearing in. That's all it'll be. Just to be the
Yes.
swearing in, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay.
And Jim, I won't be able to attend the 14th. So just to let you know.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. And folks,
Mr. Chair, will you still have a quorum?
If Jimmy and Teresa and Liz, well, with Jimmy and Teresa and I would be a quorum, but if Liz is there, yes, it would be more than a quorum.
Good deal.
So, and we'll have to go from there. Let me run down my list right quick. Tom, you got anything else you want to add?
No, sir.
Okay, Teresa,
No.
Jimmy,
No.
institutional computing. I'm pretty sure that's Larry.
Yeah, that's the stream account. I've got nothing. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Josh.
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Margaret.
No, sir.
Ms. Bush.